It's kind of caught. Am I live?
You're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Illuminating the Soul studio. Today, Tammy and I are broadcasting live.
Hello.
Okay. You all just finished Tammy's shamanism session, which was great and very Scorpionic in nature for those astrology buffs.
About 5 minutes.
So we're not live yet because right now it's like intermission. But at 3 o'clock, I will be coming live with information on astrology. And just a little tidbit of information. At 3 o'clock today is when the sun moves into Sagittarius. As an astrologer, I couldn't be more happy about that transition at the exact same time that my lecture starts. So you just got the depth and underworld transformation of Scorpio. And you're going to be coming into, we're all going to be coming into the growth and expansion of Sagittarius. So beautiful energy switch. I know it's a few more minutes till we go live, so I'm just kind of sharing little things here and there. But as people come in, please go ahead, if you will, and type in your name, say hi. If you know some of your astrology, you can share that. I kind of am going to gear this course, though, if you're here early, I'm going to gear this course more to the beginner because so many people, they don't have much of a background in astrology, although that's shifting. And I want to be able to cover the basics and give people a good foundation. So we have still, let's see here. Oh, it looks like a couple more minutes before 3 o'clock, and we'll just give people time to arrive. All right. It's an unusual camera angle. I'm going to sit down for a minute. But, hi, Katie. Capricorn Rising. I bet you have been going through some stuff, Susan. Capricorn people, whether Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising, they've definitely been getting put through the ringer for a little while now. So, I also, if you guys, I do readings out. I'm not going to go a lot into individual charts, but I do offer readings, and I offer them outside the fair, inside the fair. Typically, I do readings that are about an hour because there's so much to cover in a chart or a forecast. And for the fair, I'm offering a discounted time and discounted amount. So if you want something quicker, you can do that. Hi, Jenny, Leo Sun, Capricorn Moon. Oh, another Capricorn factor there. Carolyn is a Cancer. Susan says, yes, come on December 21st. Is that your birth? I'm not sure what, come on December 21st. All right, it looks like it is now 3 o'clock, and we're going to go live for, this is my first ever Facebook Live lecture. And it's so different to do these without an audience present. I'm used to seeing the faces and being able to interact. Hey, Mark, I'm glad you came. So nice to see people popping in. Today I'm here to share with you something that is a very personal love of mine, and that is astrology. I started doing it started learning about it, I should say, when I was only 9 years old. And I lived in the country. I taught myself a lot. It was before the internet. And I remember studying as a child and learning, like, what are the symbols and what are the signs and what do they all mean? How do they go together? So I've had a long time to immerse myself in this practice. And it's something that whether I'm doing a chart in the minute or not, I think in astrology terms, right? Like, I watch the news and I think of how it is highlighting or representative of the current planetary aspects. So, or I talk to someone I don't know and I'm thinking, very Scorpionic person. So I use it as, it's kind of like a framework for me. And I really like the psychological components of it. But people have all different approaches to astrology and uses for it. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pull this over because I don't think I'm going to be able to stand at that angle as long as I'd hoped. And I'm going to sit down. So let me see if I can fix this a little bit. I think you can see me okay from there. It's kind of hard to tell how it looks. But let's begin with the basics. And one of the basics is, what exactly is astrology, right? So astrology is the study of the planets, the moon, and other celestial bodies, and how they impact us as individuals, how they impact the world around us, how they impact events. Like you could, for instance, choose a chart, and in lots of societies, they do this, especially India, they will choose charts for weddings because they know that certain energies come through astrologically and influence the future of that marriage. So astrology is a great tool for things such as gaining a better self-understanding, gaining a better understanding into people you know and care about, like your children, your spouse, your friends. It's also used for forecasting. I know a lot of people are interested in what's coming up in my life. Is this a good time to start a new job? Is this a good time to buy a new car? Like it could be anything mundane to more spiritual topics. And I'm here with Tammy, so Tammy, I keep seeing Tammy out of the corner of my eye. She's going to make me laugh. So how many of you, and you can comment in the windows, how many of you know more than just your sun sign when it comes to astrology? And what I mean by that is most people will say, oh, I'm a Capricorn or I'm a Scorpio, right? And what they're telling you is that is their sun sign, right? That's what they read in the paper. That's what they tell their friends who tell them stuff about themselves. But there's a whole explosive world to astrology. So you have everyone has a sun sign, a moon sign. They have a Mercury, a Venus, a Mars. Those are the personal planets, Sun through Mars. Then you have these larger planets, like you have social planets, which are Jupiter and Saturn. And then we have these generational or larger impact planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So everyone born in the same few years as me, close to me, will have the same Neptune, unless I was born in a year where it transitioned. So if someone said to me, my Neptune is in Sagittarius, I would be like, lots of people have their Neptune in Sagittarius. That may not play as big of a part in your chart as, say, having your Venus in Sagittarius would for you as an individual. So when I'm looking at astrology, I'm looking at where are all the planets when I was born, right? Or for you, where are all the planets when you were born? What sign are they in? So are they in the sign of Aries or Taurus or Gemini or so on? And then you have to look at that further and say, okay, this person's sun is in Taurus. So I know certain things about a sun in Taurus, right? Like I know that they're grounded, they're earthy, they're reliable, they're also stubborn, and they dig their heels in. Tammy's a Taurus, and she's over there making faces. So anyway, there are positive traits and there are challenging traits for every sign. And we all express them differently, right? We may express, if we're in a really good space, we may express more of the positive signs. If we're in a challenging time of our lives, the stubborn traits or the bad traits may pop forward. So just knowing someone's sun in Taurus tells me some stuff, but it doesn't tell me, that's not the only thing that describes that person, right? Tauruses are loyal AF. Thank you, KC Metaphysical. Yes, it is a very incredibly loyal sign. And it's a sign that sticks to things. It could be a job, a practice, whatever, a person. And when they reach their limits, when they're done, they're one of the few signs that when they say they're done, they really mean it. Like they cut it off because they've given everything to get to that point. But back to what I was saying, I just side-tailed because I saw a comment. So if I have a client who has their sun is in Taurus, I quickly know certain things about them, some of the things I shared. However, that sun in Taurus is going to behave differently depending on the person's chart. For instance, is this a sun in Taurus in the second house, sun in Taurus in the seventh house? Where is it showing up in that person's chart? And I apologize, I'm doing this impromptu. I don't have charts. I don't have a way of displaying charts right now, but I would love to show you. In fact, I have one idea. Let me just try this. I don't know if it'll work. Let's see. No, it whites it out from all the light. I have charts on my phone that I was going to try to show you. So a chart, it's a circle like this, and it's divided into 12 sections, which are called houses, right? First through the 12th. And it's a snapshot of the skies at the time you were born. So there's a horizon, which is the ascendant, right? And that shows what planets were coming up and into view at the moment when you were born. So someone who has a sun in a different part of their chart expresses that differently than if it was in another house. So let's do an example here. So if my client is a sun in Taurus and their sun is in the second house, it's really strengthened because Taurus is the natural ruler of the second house. And what that means is someone with sun in the second house, they put a large focus on financial security, objects. They're very tangible people, right? That Taurus energy of wanting to own and collect and have is really put into the physical world of objects and things. It's also, if you take it to a metaphysical level, Taurus energy in the second house becomes about self-esteem. Like, how do I become truly confident in my abilities to be a secure, stable individual? Now, if I move that Taurus energy from the second house, and let's say I put it over in the seventh house, right? The seventh house is your significant other. It's like a marriage partner. It could be a business partner, but it's a one-on-one intimate kind of relationship. So if I take this sun, and Taurus is very good at being self-reliant and independent, and they can take care of themselves, right? They don't necessarily need someone else to provide a lot for them. They're here to be builders. But when you move that energy over into the seventh house, then you get someone who takes all of that Taurian energy of having, building, creating, tangible nature, and you put it in the house of relationships. So you get someone who focuses that energy on really investing in a partnership, a marriage, and that's the KC Metaphysical person. I don't know if it was Sylvia or Gigi, but that's when you see someone who's really strongly relationship oriented, very loyal in that regard. So they still like objects, right? They still care about financial security, but they care about it differently. They care about it in terms of having a successful relationship, partnership, or marriage, right? And so when you look at charts, when you're looking at astrology, you're thinking, what planet am I looking at? Someone said I heard my name. What planet am I looking at? Where is it at in my astrological chart, first through 12th house? And what sign is it in, right? So that was the sun, was the planet. The sign it is in this case, is Taurus. And it was in the second house, and then I moved it to the seventh house. So these are the three there are four main factors for an astrological chart. One is the planet you're dealing with. The second is the sign it's in. The third is the house it's in. And then the fourth one is how is it aspected. So I'm going to keep building on that same example for right now. So I have the sun in Taurus. It's in the seventh house. And so that's my planet, my sign, and my house. And we're going to start by giving that sun, let's do something nice here. Let's give that sun a trine aspect, 120 degrees supporting aspect from Venus. So if Venus is making a positive aspect to the sun, you get someone who has takes on the qualities of Venus, right? And Venus is a planet of beauty, kindness, very good manners and interactions with people. And so you take that Venetian energy of love, support, kindness, and you pair it with the sun, And what you're going to get is someone who has very nice mannerisms and is polite and kind and beautiful, whether in person physically or also beautiful as a soul, right? So that's a Venus making a really nice aspect to the sun. And in the 7th house, it would help bestow positive relationships, positive marriage relationships. If I change that, and let's say what I did was take Pluto. Pluto is the planet that rules the underworld. He oversees death. He oversees transformation. He oversees rebirth, like really tearing something down to its base level and rebuilding it. So if I take Pluto and I put it in a hard aspect to the sun in Taurus, if I make it square that, and this is still in my 7th house, what I get then is an individual who struggles with control, struggles with power, either in relationships, they will either probably be drawn to people who are controlling, or they themselves may be controlling in a relationship. It can play out either way. So the thing with astrology is, if you take it at a surface level and you look at it and you just look at the sun sign, you're only seeing a glimpse of the overall picture of the person or the event or the city or the town or whatever it is you're evaluating. But if you want to go deeper and really understand it, what you have to do is you have to pull together a chart which is based on the birth date, birth time, and birth location. And by birth location, I mean like what city were you born in and what state, not like what hospital you're born in, because sometimes people will provide me with that information. So what you do then, or what I do as an astrologer, is I will draw up a chart, and thankfully the computers do that for me now. When I was first learning it, I had to do it by hand, and it would take 1 to 2 hours just to do the chart. But I look at that and I analyze certain factors. I look at the sun first. How is this person's identity? Who do they see themselves as? Who do they express as? I look at the moon second. The moon tells me, what is this person's emotional state? How are they super emotional? Are they more aloof? What needs do they have? What makes them feel secure and safe? That's all shown by the moon in your chart. Then I look at their rising sign, and this is why your birth time is so important, because your birth time allows the astrologer to determine what sign was rising at the moment you took your first breath. So someone with a Virgo rising is going to be much different than someone with Sagittarius rising. So a Virgo rising person, if you meet them, because this is the rising sign is someone's social face. It's how they present themselves to the world. And for some people, their sun sign and their rising sign may be the exact same, right? So what they show you is who they are. But for many, many people, there is a difference between their sun sign and their rising sign. So if I meet someone with a rising sign of, say, Virgo, I'm going to find that person to be more, they'll hold back a little. They'll be more internal. They'll be a little bit more reticent, right? They won't be so open. They will also be observing everything, because Virgo rising is super observant, and they're very analytical, and they're thinking, examining, looking around, figuring things out. I see a lot of people are posting their sun and moon stuff and rising signs, and I'm going to come back to those, but I'm going to continue with these examples first before I come back. So this is a Virgo rising. They'll probably be interested in health matters. They'll be interested in practical concerns. They may be a little nervous, because Virgo energy can be anxious if it's not channeled properly. And then, so I meet someone like this, and I pick up this energy in their Virgo rising, but then I find out that, hey, they're actually like a Leo, right? And Leos are totally different from Virgos. Leos are like the life of the party, like the center of attention. So I see the first part of the person that they show me, which is their rising sign. And then once you get to know them better, or you get their chart, you will see their sun sign, which will show you who they are on the inside, who they know themselves to be, which we may not see if we're interacting with them briefly. Another example is if I get Sagittarius Rising. Sagittarius Rising is super jovial, very extroverted and outgoing, loves to meet new people and talk to new people and travel. I keep getting these little pop-in messages that are cracking me up. So Sagittarius Rising is the person that you meet that wants to talk about anything and everything, like travel related or different cultures, or they're just very bubbly and happy people. And the thing is they may not be a Sagittarius. That just may be who you meet, right? Because they could be a Cancerian, which is a very sensitive sign, very emotional sign, and very shy, which is the opposite of Sagittarius, who is not shy at all. And so if you met that person, you wouldn't pick up on that Cancer energy until you spent more time with them and got close to them, because their rising sign is what they allow the public to see of themselves. So I think at this point, I would like to talk a little bit about each sign, but I'm going to go through my messages here and I'm going to respond to some of you quickly. Let's see here. What was some of the first ones I have? We've got a lot of Taurians on here. It's good I'm using a Taurus example. Someone says, my sun and moon are both in Taurus in the 4th house. Are sun and moon signs always identical signs and houses? This is from April. April, that is not always the case that someone has the same sun and moon, or that they're in the same house in your chart. When you are born with the same sun and moon sign, you guys, what that means is that you were born during a new moon. So you have the sun and moon in the same sign. And it's kind of nice to have the sun and moon in the same sign, because what it does is it creates a consistency of who you are, meaning that your emotional self and your identity and your needs are all in alignment, right? So if someone's got sun and moon both in Scorpio, sun and moon both in Taurus, whatever the sign is, what it shows me is your identity, your self-expression, and your needs are in alignment, right? So with a Taurus, the need for Taurus is for comfort. They're very sensual. They love the way things smell, the way things taste, the way things feel. Like it's a sensual sign. They also are really big on security in general, like financial security, spatial security, like having a home. And it's in your 4th house. So that's someone who you're putting your energy into your home life. Could have even been your early childhood life you were putting a lot of energy into, but building your own home, having your own home. You would not probably like much change in your home, because Taurus is not big on change unless they have other factors in their chart bringing that about. So that's to answer April's question. Do most people have their sun and moon in the same sign and the same house? 1 in 12, or 1 in 12 for having the same sun and moon sign. Here's Caitlin, and Caitlin says, my moon and sun are in Pisces, another combo new moon, and I'm Sagittarius rising. Okay, so when I look at Caitlin's, this is a great example for what I've been trying to demonstrate, is the difference between a rising sign and someone's sun or moon sign. So my sun is how I see myself. So this is Caitlin I'm talking about. Caitlin's sun is Pisces, right? So Caitlin knows inside that she's very sensitive, very probably artistically inclined, very, very open to energies around her, right? Pisces is a sign of like an artist who paints or who draws, and they have so much emotion and so many things just flow through them. And so they're very suggestible to their environments. They're very influenced by their environments. Caitlin's moon is also in Pisces, and so her moon is what she needs to feel safe, right? And feel secure, remember? So moon in Pisces needs a strong connection to an artistic outlet, to a spiritual outlet, because Pisces, in the phrase alpha and omega, Pisces is omega. It's everything that's encompassed, right? It's the all-encompassing sign. So Pisces feels connected to everyone. Like they can really, and not mentally connected, they feel emotionally, like they feel it at a soul level, very connected to other people. And even though they can be outgoing and talk to people and connect, they really need a lot of time. Private time, alone time helps them recharge and get a sense of who they are versus who they're connected to, because they pick up on other people's emotions a lot. But then Caitlin, who has all this sensitivity in her chart, has Sagittarius Rising. So what that means is if I encountered Caitlin and didn't know these things about her, you would not see Caitlin as shy. You would see Caitlin as fun-loving, joyful, happy, connecting with people in a very positive way. But inside, Caitlin could be quite emotional and have lots of pain that she's not sharing, right? So I'm just giving examples from the stats that are posted here in the little comments. This is really funny. Okay, I have another post, also sun and moon in the same sign. And this is Allison. Her sun and moon are both in Cancer. That is a highly sensitive combination. Allison, you're probably very sensitive to your family, your mother, the people around you. Very much a caretaker and very much a nurturer. Let's see, you didn't say what your rising signs is, so you may not know. KC Metaphysical, one of us has Leo rising. Guess which one, Gigi or Sylvia? Definitely got to be Sylvia. Please let me know if that's right. I'm guessing Sylvia. Allison, 8th house, sun and moon in Cancer. Well, Allison, I have that exact same combination. So chances are you have a large interest. The 8th house is about healing, transformation, metaphysics. Lots of times you'll find professional healers with that combination. In your case, with it being sun and moon in Cancer in the 8th house, you're probably working a lot with family healing, whether it's your own or the people that you help. Lots of trauma with the 8th house. I don't really want to go into that on this particular session. We're limited, but I'm super familiar with those placements. Here is Mallory, sun in Cancer, Libra rising. So without knowing more about Mallory's chart, what I'm seeing, and this is a good teaching point, is her sun is in Cancer, her her rising is in Libra. So one delineation you have in astrology is something called the qualities of the signs. So there are cardinal signs, there are mutable signs, and there are fixed signs. Cardinal signs are very much the signs that get things done. They take charge. They don't mind being in leadership positions. They're initiators. And those signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So those are the cardinal signs. And Mallory has 2 of her big 3 in cardinal signs. So this is a person that definitely can take charge, definitely get stuff done. Then you have the fixed signs, which are very good at follow through, making sure that something goes from A to Z. They're super dependable. And those are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, right? So here we have the initiators, the 4 I told you about, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Then we have the people who get it done, like take it from A to Z. So those are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Then we have the mutable signs, which they're like the information spreaders, right? They're very flexible. They can handle change super well. And those are Gemini. Let's see, we got Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So those are mutable. Whereas the fixed signs, they need predictability. The mutable signs need a lot of change. They would not do as well if they have a very mutable chart in a 9-to-5 working in an office kind of job. They need to be out and about and doing things and talking to lots of people. So with Mallory, she's got her rising sign and her sun sign. I don't know her whole chart, but she's got 2 of those in cardinal signs. So I'm guessing, just with that information, I'd have to see more, that Mallory she doesn't let grass grow under her feet. She's starting things up and getting them rolling. And if you've ever thought about having your own business or you work in a group, it's good to have a balance of people. Like, you don't want a group of all initiators or a group of all mutable people. You need one of each at a minimum, because you need the cardinal signs to get something started, like, hey, let's do this, and actually mean it and take the steps to do it. Then you get the fixed signs to actually start making it happen. Like, the initiators start it, and the fixed sign comes along and says, let's keep this train moving, right? They are super dependable. They're doing all the steps in between. And then the mutable sign at the end of this group, anyway, they're the ones who take the idea and spread it, right? Get it known to other people. Let's cross-pollinate. So it's really nice. And not every chart, most charts have, focuses, foci in certain areas. They don't have a little bit of everything. Sometimes they do, but usually they're more focused. Let's see if there's more questions here. Okay, I was right. It was Sylvia that was Leo rising. How would I guess that? Because I've had limited interaction with Gigi and Sylvia, but the interactions I've had, Gigi is much more reserved in her communication. She's more to herself, right? And Leo rising, because I haven't spent a lot of time with them to know what their stuff is, their aspects and signs. But Sylvia is very outgoing, very talkative, and so she's got that fireball energy, which is very Leo energy, right? Gigi's probably got an earth sign or maybe a water sign rising. We'll see if they chime in. Let's see. I have Allison has Scorpio rising. I think Allison was the one that had the sun and moon. Yes, it is. It's her. Okay, so Allison, that is a lot of intensity in your chart. Not only do you have your sun and moon in the 8th house, but Scorpio is the natural ruler of the 8th house. And for those of you who are watching, I'm just doing this. I wasn't able to do a lot of prep time. Otherwise, I would have graphics and I would go linearly through the signs and so on. I'm just doing this more effusively. So I'm teaching by what people bring up. And for Allison, she's got major Scorpio energy. Sun and moon, even though they're in Cancer, they're in the 8th house. She has Scorpio rising. And so when I look at something with that much Scorpio, my first thoughts are, what depth, what trauma, what darkness has Allison been through? Allison has some seriously heavy stories to share. And part of that is because she was meant to come into this life and burn off a lot of negativity, and could be, in her case, because she's sun and moon in Cancer, burn off a lot of negative family karma. She's here to be a healer. It's not the healer of the light and fuzzy kind, though. It's not like some healers have more focus on positivity and light. Scorpio is much more about owning the darkness, transforming the darkness. You've been through hell and back, and you're still alive, and you're still kicking, and you're still doing what you need to do to be here, right? They're the people who can work with suicide, families of suicide, work with people with early losses in their life, sexual trauma. Allison, I don't need you to divulge a lot of this, anything online that you don't want to, but basically, anytime there's a heavy Scorpio chart, I know that there is a great amount of trauma and deep soul work that this individual's having. And depending on what signs are involved, like in Allison's case, it's Cancer, sun and moon, that says most of hers comes from her early family. If it had been something like Sagittarius, right? A Sagittarius sun and moon with Scorpio influence, could be a lot of trauma that came through religion, trauma that came through teachers, like the whole scandal with the churches and people being molested. That's the kind of stuff that Scorpio rules, is the really rebirth-oriented, heavy transformation energy. So some of you are listening, and I know you have Scorpio placements or you have 8th house placements, and you're probably relating to this. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie says, great class. Carolyn says, I'm a Cancer Sun, Mercury, and Mars, but my Leo rising seems like it rules all. Do you just answer random questions? It says there's a see more. I can't. Carolyn, I can't see more. It says that you can see more I can't see your whole question. So I'll have to answer yours afterwards because it's blocked. I can only see part of it. But I can see, you have what's called a stellium, and that's another teaching point. So a stellium in astrology is where you have 3 or more planets in one sign or in one house. And I've seen charts where literally someone has 7 planets in one house. Their life is so focused in that one direction, right? Because of the 10 possibilities of planets, they have 7 in one place. They're very focused on, if it's in their 10th house, they're very focused on their career. If it's in their 6th house, they're very focused on their health. Like, it makes some of us, we have charts where planets are everywhere. It's called a splash chart. And so we're pulled over here, and we have like 100 different interests. But when you get someone like Carolyn, who has 3 planets in a sign, she's definitely going to get pulled. And Carolyn did not tell me what her degrees were. I don't know if she's Leo rising. There's a high likelihood that those 3 planets are in her 12th house, which 12th house is a house of, it hides things. It's like in the closet. It's the shadow, right? So even though she is aware of her Cancerian traits of emotionality, sensitivity, nurturing, caring, they're tucked away in the 12th house. So she says her Leo rising seems to rule all. And what's funny is Leo is the sign of royalty. I'm the king, I'm the queen. Of course it wants to feel like it rules it all. But on top of it, if your sun is placed in the 12th house, your sun, which likes to shine, is placed in the closet. So it doesn't get the same kind of expression. It's not it's not a favorite for astrologers to have the sun in the 12th house. But what we've noticed, or what many astrologers have noticed, is sun in the 12th house, plus you have these other placements, is someone who makes typically like a great writer, a great creative person. They do a lot of their expression is private, and they share it through indirect means, right? So through writing or through their art. They may not speak it to you, but they share it through these other means. Let's keep scrolling. Caitlin said, have you ever heard of the app CoStar? I have not. It says, she said, I use it to figure out my chart. It tells you your challenges and things. And then just so you guys know, if you write more than like 2 sentences, the chat feature cuts it off and I can't see it. But there are lots of good tools out there for preparing a chart. One of my favorites, it's free if you guys want to learn astrology and just get your own chart. And you can buy your chart lots of places, but if you want it for free, you can go to this website called www.astro.com, and you put in your birth date, your birth time, and your birth city and state, and it will show you can print out your chart, you can look at it, and you may not obviously understand it if you haven't studied astrology, but you can use it to go online and start learning, right? Or you could take it to an astrologer. I think charts are like paintings, like they're beautiful to me. And I know when I read people's charts and I first send them to someone to look at, or I print them out and show them, they're like, what is that? How can you read that? But to me, it speaks to me, right? I've studied it, but I also use my intuition. And it's just like, I see that and I see a painting of you and your soul, right? I see what you don't show. I see who you are. And I really personally am drawn to the psychological study of astrology. And Allison, I think that was who was the 8th house person, also going to be very into psychology. I can tell you, hey, it's a good time to look for love, or hey, you should be searching for a job right now, and this is what kind of job would be really good for you. I can do that stuff, but really one of the best things, and I like doing that stuff, but my favorite is to help you look at your chart and see what are your strengths, what are your challenges, who are you, what do you need to learn? Like what things are you here to learn in this lifetime? What's your soul's path? That is my real pull to astrology. I use it ever since I was young. I've used it as a tool for understanding myself, understanding my family members, understanding my friends. I just like people. I'm fascinated by people and motivations and so on. I know a lot of people like it for the predictive part, and I do too. I mean, I can do the predictive part. Another piece that's really interesting to me is something called Astrocartography, and that is where you look at a map of the world, and it's got lines through it based on your birth date, time, and place, and you can see, I can quickly look at that and say, oh, this is where you would be able to find love, or this would be a very good place for you career-wise, or this would be a place for you to go to do some healing work. Like it's really fascinating to me that I can look at a map of the world using your birth date and time and say, hey, you want to get a higher education. Have you thought of moving to Arizona? For you, there would be a really good school there. So if you have any interest, like this would be a great place to go to relax on vacation. That kind of stuff shows up in astrocartography. Another really cool way that I enjoy using astrology with clients is to help them see different relationship dynamics. Like if I met someone new and I'm getting involved with that person, I want to know if we're compatible. And I want to know if we're compatible at a surface level or at a deeper level. Or maybe we're not really compatible at all. Maybe we should go our separate ways. Like that's the kind of stuff you can see when you look at charts in synastry or composite. And it doesn't just have to be like a romantic relationship or a marital relationship. I've done that for people with their children. I've done it for people with their siblings, with their coworker, right? Or their boss. Like it really helps you if you're getting a job and I know this is not easy, but if you're getting a job and you can get the details of the person you're going to be working for, birth date wise, you can have a good idea if that's a good person for you to work with. I've done readings for people going into business with a new partner and they wanted to see, is this person a good business partner for me? So really astrology is a great tool in so many ways, right? It's a great tool for self-understanding. It's a great tool for understanding other people that you care about. It's great for timing events. A lot of times people come to astrologers and other readers because they're going through a tough time, right? And as an astrologer, I can see what's happening in the stars for that person. Like, is there a particular transit or a solar return aspect in their chart that's showing me the difficulty they're experiencing and how long it will last and how they can best work with that energy? Like, what is that energy trying to teach them? So for instance, I'm going to do a for instance on this one. Let's say that I have somebody who has a major Neptune transit. So you may be thinking, what is a Neptune transit? Well, a Neptune transit is a transit that tends to creep in. Like it's not a sudden transit. It's like a wave. It kind of flows in like a fog even. And you don't know, but you just get this sense that something is hidden, something's missing, but it's very vague, and it's not so prominent that you're like freaked out. It's there like in the flows and ebbs, right? And so when I get someone who has a Neptune transit, let's say to their fourth house, because the way the transits really are felt by people is if this planet makes aspect to one of your birth planets, your natal planets, which is your birth chart, or if it hits one of the angles. And the angles in a birth chart are your ascendant, which is also your rising sign, your fourth house cusp, which is known as your IC, your seventh house cusp, which is your descendant, and your 10th house cusp, which is your midheaven. Those points in a chart are just as sensitive, or in some cases more sensitive than a planet, right? If it's not a personal planet and it's in a less powerful house. But so if I had a client that had Neptune coming over the fourth house, which is the home life, the mother, just by moving over that, it's also going to be opposing their midheaven. and their midheaven is their career, their public standing, their place in the world, right? There's their boss, their supervisor on a more mundane level. So Neptune's coming along, and Neptune's goal is to teach us to let go, release, forgive, embrace oneness. You know, it's a planet that's very geared towards spirituality and oneness. So what it does, if it moves over the fourth house, lots of times it can manifest, practically speaking, in your home, right? Like a lot of people will have water problems. Some people have flooding. It's a practical manifestation of Neptune coming in the fourth house. It can also just mean that the home you've lived in, your roots are dissolving and you're not attached to where you are, right? You no longer feel attached. You feel like maybe you don't belong there anymore. And that could be the home, it could be your birth home, it could be your family, like of birth, not the children you've had or so on, but your birth family. It's like those roots are being dissolved, right? And it's not happening suddenly, it's very subtle, but you will notice when that Neptune goes by that all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't speak to my parents as much, or hey, I've lived in this house for 30 years or 20 years and I just, it doesn't feel right to me anymore. I don't think I should live here. And so you start making changes that feel more in alignment with your soul. And a lot of people with Neptune crossing their IC will feel very drawn to live near water, whether it's a lake or an ocean or a river, right? At the same time that your home life is changing, Neptune is also opposing your career or your midheaven or your supervisor. And what that does, or what I've seen anyway, is Neptune, like I said, it fades, it's foggy, it's mystical, it's subtle, but other words that go with Neptune include words like deception and lies and illusions, like someone trying to pull the wool over your eyes, some kind of coup happening. So what happens oftentimes is it draws your attention to your home life with Neptune going over your fourth house, and it's opposing your career. And in your career, you will find out that, not guaranteed, but there's a chance anyway, that what could become prominent is there's some kind of deception in your career, like maybe someone's not telling you something, there's some big changes at the top that no one saw coming, that were based on some kind of illusion or lies or whatever. So this is just an example. But what Neptune's doing when it's creating all of that dissipation and loss and things just floating away and like, or deceptive or illusions, is it's also giving us the opportunity to learn larger trust in the spiritual power. It's teaching us about forgiveness if we were deceived and lied to or manipulated. It's teaching us to let go and realize that it's not tangible things that keep us, right? They're not, yes, we need housing or we need certain basics like food, but there's a larger power that is taking care of us, right? And our family members. And so Neptune's lessons are, hey, don't try to cling to something that's done. Let it fade, let it pass. So these are just some of the things I see when I look at charts and astrology. I'm going to look at some more questions here. So I have got I said Gigi's either earth or water. She's water rising.
Make sure to post how people can book a session with you.
Right. My friend Tammy is reminding me. I could just go on and on about astrology. But if you are interested in learning about your chart specifically, or your family member's chart, your spouse's chart, something like a new business, whatever. If you want to know where to travel, if you want to know where to go to school, I'm your lady. Call me or text me at 816, I wish I could put a banner on here. It's 816-868-4649. I'm going to repeat it. And I'm going to post it on Tammy's page. 816-868-4649. And I typically do hour-long readings. For the fair, I'm offering shorter readings just because I know people are out there just trying different things out. But my typical readings are an hour because there's just so much in a chart. It's hard to read it in less than that. I can do it, but man, I feel like I'm a maniac talking through it. So The readings are 1 hour. I charge $80 for an hour. And I can do them in person, I do them on the phone, I do them via FaceTime or Zoom, and I can help you figure out all that stuff. Your sun, your moon, your rising, any kind of help. Like if you're struggling with something, your chart usually shows some solutions to that. And so you can contact me. I'm part of the virtual fair as well. We all have these picture booths on Facebook. So if you click on there, you can see mine, and it has my phone number there to text me, and then I'll schedule you for a reading. So let me answer some more questions, though. I have one here from April. It says, how does one figure out their rising sign? What is the rising sign based upon? So the rising sign is based upon which sign or constellation was rising at the time of your birth. And the way you figure it out is you have to know what time you were born and obviously where. You're going to know that. So if you were born in Kansas City, Missouri, or St. Louis, Missouri, or some small town, as long as you have your city and state and your birth time, then you can find out your rising sign. An astrologer can help you find it out. And just some of you may be like, well, I don't know what time I was born. My mom doesn't remember. My dad doesn't remember. And so I have found ways to help you with this. Most states have what's called a long form birth certificate, and you can purchase that online, and it will include everything that was on your birth certificate, including your birth time. If you just purchase a regular birth certificate, it will not have your birth time. So you got to make sure that you're requesting the long form. My dad passed away when I was quite young, and my grandma did not remember, and they had lost the birth certificate, what time he was born, and I was really curious, and I spent years wishing I knew, trying to find out, and then finally, I was probably, I'd say I was in my 30s when this happened, but I went to the local university, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but they have microfiche. And I went through the local newspaper's microfiche, and they had his birth time listed in the newspaper because it was common back then to list birth times. Someone must have had an astrologer working there to help out. But I finally learned his birth time, and it was super insightful for our family. So if you need help finding that, I think the best resource is to order the long form birth certificate from your state department or health department. Okay, let's look. The next question, and we've got about 10 minutes to go. This one's from Carolyn. It says, it's also your first house or ascendant. Do you know your birth time? Oh, I think she's responding to April. So I'm going to leave that one there. Gigi's Cancer Rising. Water. That makes so much more sense. Hi, Tony. I see Tony's on here. How do you go about getting a chart reading done by you? This is Karen. Karen, I probably already answered your question if you were still watching. So basically you can text me at 816-868-4649, and I will schedule an appointment with you, and we can do it virtually or in person if you would like. If you do the full reading, I do it in person, but I can do it in person. Allison Soul. Oh, Allison. That's so sweet. I'm sending you a big hug. Big hug. Carolyn, Cancer in 12th, I think. Yes, okay, I was talking about your 12th house planets. That's right. Someone said, is reading for kids different? Yes and no. For me, when I recommend that parents get their kids' charts read, what I'm looking for is what are the strengths and aptitudes you want to nurture in your child? What are some of the things they may struggle with that you need to help cultivate and make easier? And I also, help you see things that might feed their soul, basically. Like what's going to nurture them, what's going to help them grow, what are their aptitudes, what are some future, and I've read for kids that are like 4 and 5, like looking at what interests you might want to cultivate for career purposes even. So that's the kind of stuff I do for a kid reading. Carolyn, Scorpio, South South Node. Oh yeah, Carolyn knows. Let's see. To book a reading. Oh, thank you, Sylvia and Gigi. They posted how to do that. This is Itzia. Sun in Taurus in the 9th house, Moon in Sag in the 4th house, and rising Virgo rising. This, I'm just going to do a little snippet here for Itzia. So her sun is in Taurus, which she's got a very conflicting energy going on with her placements. So her sun in Taurus is very grounded, very earthy, but it's in the 9th house. And 9th house wants to grow and expand and travel and meet people from other places, like very different kind of people. So Taurus likes structure and stability, and Sag is like, let's go fly places and do fun things. So she's gonna feel a pull that's different, especially her moon is also in Sagittarius, 9th house is Sagittarius. She's got a strong drive to learn and grow and expand and do things differently, right? Like most Taurians are very comfortable living where they grew up, keeping things the same, building upon what exists. And Sagittarians are like, I'm gonna go do something different. So I suspect that Itzia has a little bit of a conflict between herself, right? Like sometimes she's like, I just need to go see the world. And then she goes and sees the world and she's like, I want to get back home now. Like there's a definite conflicting energy. And frankly, that is quite common in charts to see something that's conflicting because we're not all one way. I mean, some people have a chart, like I said, that's got a stellium of many planets in the same sign, same house. They may just be in alignment perfectly. Most of us have innate contradictions in our charts and in our personalities and in our lives. And Itzia's chart shows that beautifully. So something that, to think about. Like, yeah, your chart may show that you're outgoing and you're introverted. And you're probably both at some points because you have that kind of placement in your chart. Let's see. What else do we got here? We still got some more comments. Leslie, fascinating. Do you have a favorite book to get started on all of this? Oh my gosh, I love reading astrology books. I'm trying to remember. Honestly, I started reading my books when I was a child, and I don't remember the first ones I read. I read pretty much anything I could get my hands on. The internet wasn't up and about then. But I would say I have some favorite authors. So I love Frank Clifford. He's a fantastic author, and he's out of England. He's got a few books out. I also love Kelly Surtees, and it's spelled Surtees. She's written some books and teaches. Also, yes, I love Stephen Forrest, and I think it's double R. It's either double R or double T. I'm trying to remember which one it is right now. So those would be some of my favorite authors for books on astrology. And I'm just going to check a few more because I'm almost out of time, you guys. Let's see. Reading down. Virgo, Capricorn, Aquarius. All right, Nayeli. I'm sorry, I'm probably saying her name terribly wrong. Just got here a little late. But the good thing is if you guys came in the middle or the end, you can always come back and watch this again because it's going to be posted on Tammy's business page, which is Illuminating the Soul. And you can rewatch it and study and learn from some of the stuff in the presentation. Let's see, Pisces in 5th. I'm running out of time. You guys are posting all these good planetary placements I want to talk about. So I'm going to have to, I've only got 4 minutes left, and I'm not going to be able to answer any more questions at this time, but I'll look after the session's over later today. I have some readings already booked, but I will get in there and I will respond to the ones that I did not get to. So thank you all for coming to my first ever Facebook Live virtual session. Hopefully I'll do some more in the future, and I could, this also may be on YouTube, I guess, is what I just saw. So I hope to do more of these in the future and be able to show graphics so I can explain, give you a visual of what I'm talking about, because it's kind of hard when you can't see it. All right, thank you guys. I hope to hear from some of you. Okay, bye.